My dear friends, many times we may have come across this term, the spirit of the law, which means understanding exactly why a particular law, a particular rule is in place. Very often in life, we see that we tend to do things because it was told or because it has been continued for a number of years. And therefore, we see that certain people tend to be reluctant to change because it is said, it is written. Now, we don't go to cross-check why a particular law was written in that manner. Very often we see rules, regulations, laws come about because of some situation or to deal with certain circumstances. And therefore, once that particular situation is over, once that particular problem is over, in a way we see that that law is in a way not required because it has served its purpose. And when it is continued in that same particular manner, we see that it tends to become redundant. And when we tend to do things just because it is written, just for the sake of doing it, then we see that there is no intention, there is no love in that particular thing. We just do it because we are supposed to do it. It becomes a kind of a mechanical way of doing things. When it comes to Jesus, we see that Jesus wants us to give 100%, whether it is in work, whether it is in worship, or whether it is in our relationship with one another. And therefore for Jesus, what was important was to understand why certain things were done. When we look at the difference between the scribes, Pharisees, and Jesus, we see that for the scribes and Pharisees, they followed the law letter by letter. If it is written, it has to be done. They did not go to look why it was there, what was the purpose of the law. On the other hand, we see Jesus understood why certain things were done, why certain laws were written. And that is why we see that the scribes and the Pharisees felt on many occasions that Jesus was breaking the law. But in fact, Jesus was only doing what actually the law was meant to achieve. And therefore, they trick him by asking today's question. And we see here once again the brilliance of Jesus. Jesus knew the scriptures very well, and therefore he was able to quote. Now today's quote is from Genesis that he gives. And therefore when he was able to quote scriptures like this, when he was able to answer in such a manner, the scribes and the Pharisees were put in silence. Now today's first reading will speak about another practical issue, that is grumbling. Very often we see that we tend to grumble. All of us are prone to it. We grumble for some reason or the other. Now, many say that it is good to get it out of the system, or the term that is used is catharsis, to express oneself, get things out. Now, there is a difference between grumbling and expressing oneself. We see that when we tend to grumble, over a period of time, we become bitter. In the sense that everything we tend to look from that same negative perspective. Even if something is good, we tend to view it in that particular manner. And when this happens, we see that we become bitter to ourselves and to those around us. And therefore, even living with such people becomes hard and difficult. Now, once again, there is a difference between critical thinking and criticizing. Critical thinking means that we need to ask ourselves why certain things are in this particular manner. Whereas criticism, as we all know, means looking at the negatives, looking at the wrong points in certain things. And therefore today's readings once again invite us to reflect on our lives and see where we are going wrong. Are we really doing things out of love? Are we doing things because we just need to do it? And therefore, as we reflect on these readings, we ask the Lord to give us the grace that He may open our eyes to see the things as they are, to be attentive to the signs of the time, and to do things out of love and with the spirit of service. Amen.